In the warm glow of the upper room, Jesus sat with his disciples, sharing words that would stay in their hearts forever. He told them that though he was going away, he would not leave them alone. "I will send you the Spirit of truth," Jesus promised, his voice filled with peace. "He will be your helper, guiding you into all truth." Peter watched him closely, trying to understand this deep mystery as the golden light of the lamps danced on the walls. Later that night, under a silver moon, Jesus led his friends to the Garden of Gethsemane. The air was cool and smelled of olive leaves. While his disciples rested nearby, Jesus knelt alone on the mossy ground. He poured out his heart to God in prayer, preparing for the difficult journey ahead. Even though he knew what was coming, he chose to follow his Father's plan because of his immense love for every person in the world. Suddenly, the quiet garden was filled with the flicker of orange torches and the sound of footsteps. Judas, one of the 12 disciples, stepped forward from the shadows. Behind him stood a group of guards with shields and lanterns. Judas approached Jesus to identify him, but Jesus did not pull away. He stood with calm strength, looking at Judas with a face that showed both great sorrow and endless kindness. After Jesus was taken away, Peter followed at a distance, his heart heavy with fear. He entered a courtyard where people gathered around a fire to stay warm. A servant girl named Kalila looked at him curiously. "Weren't you with him?" she asked. Peter was so afraid that he shook his head and said he didn't know Jesus. 3 times he was asked, and 3 times he said no, just as the sun began to rise. As the morning grew bright, Jesus was brought before a powerful governor named Pilate. The hall was grand, with sunlight streaming through tall windows. Pilate questioned Jesus about his kingdom, but Jesus answered that his kingdom was not of this world. Pilate could see that Jesus had done nothing wrong, yet the crowd outside was shouting loudly. Sadly, Pilate gave in to their demands and sent Jesus away to be crucified. On a hill called Golgotha, the sky turned dark as Jesus hung upon the cross. Even in his greatest suffering, he thought of those he loved. He looked down and saw his mother Mary crying. Next to her stood John, the disciple he loved most. "Mother, here is your son," Jesus said. And to John, he said, "Here is your mother." He made sure they would care for each other like family, before he finally said, "It is finished." 3 days later, early in the morning, the world changed forever. Mary Magdalene went to the tomb where Jesus had been buried, but she saw the giant stone had been rolled away. She peeked inside the cool, quiet tomb and saw a brilliant light. A messenger from heaven named Raziel was sitting there, wearing clothes as white as snow. The messenger told her the most wonderful news. Jesus was no longer there. He was alive. Mary Magdalene stood in the garden, still crying because she didn't understand where Jesus had gone. She saw a man standing nearby and thought he was the gardener. "Sir, if you have moved him, please tell me," she begged. Then the man spoke her name, Mary. Immediately, she knew that voice. It was Jesus. She fell to her knees in pure joy, realizing that the light of the world had returned, more radiant than the morning sun. That evening, the disciples were gathered in a locked room, still feeling afraid. Suddenly, Jesus appeared right among them. He showed them the marks on his hands and side. Thomas, who hadn't been there at first, found it hard to believe until he saw Jesus for himself. Jesus invited Thomas to reach out and touch his hands. All of Thomas's doubts vanished, and he cried out, "My Lord and my God!" Days later, the disciples were fishing on the Sea of Galilee when they saw Jesus on the shore. He had cooked breakfast for them. After they ate, Jesus walked along the sand with Peter. He asked Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" With every yes, Jesus told him, "Feed my sheep." Peter felt forgiven and ready to lead. As the waves lapped at the shore, they knew their mission